Hello everyone and welcome once again to Iconic Keys. Today I'd like to visit an age undreamt of and dig into the first issue of Marvel Comics' Conan the Barbarian. Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian first premiered in the pages of Marvel Comics in October of 1970. That was nearly 38 years after the character's literary manifestation debuted in the pages of the December 1932 issue of Weird Tales. Weird Tales was an anthology magazine that printed short stories. Marvel's Conan the Barbarian was ultimately a significant commercial success for the company, running for 275 issues until 1993. The book also launched a healthy sword and sorcery vogue in American comic books in the 1970s, titles which included Kull and Thongor in Marvel Comics, as well as DC's Beowulf and Claw the Unconquered. Marvel Comics recently reacquired the publishing rights to Conan in 2018 and started a new run of Conan the Barbarian in January of 2019. With the creative team of writer Jason Aaron and artist Mahmoud A. Esrar. Roy Thomas wrote the majority of the issues in the Conan run and was also the individual that managed to obtain the publishing rights to Conan from Robert Howard's estate. It was also the signature work of artist Barry Smith, who penciled most of the issues between 1 and 24. John Buscema then penciled the vast bulk of issues 25 through 190. Roy Thomas was an associate editor at Marvel in 1970 and had found the character of Conan to be chief among readers' requests for literary properties to be adapted into comics. Other suggestions from readers also included the Pulp magazine character, Doc Savage, the Lord of the Rings universe, and Edgar Rice Burroughs' characters of Tarzan and John Carter of Mars. In an interview in 2010, Roy Thomas said, "I put together a memo for Marvel publisher Martin Goodman explaining why we should license a literary character. I hadn't read a lot of Howard. I bought a couple of books for the Frazetta covers alone, but I'd never really read them. When Goodman gave us permission to license a character, we figured we couldn't afford Conan. By that time, there'd been around a half-decade of Conan coming out in Lancer paperbacks, so we figured no sense going after that property. There was no way we were going to get it. I knew writer Lynn Carter slightly, who had authored a character called Thongor. Thongor was half Conan and half John Carter of Mars. Lynn was great, but his agent kept wanting us to offer more money than the $150 licensing fee that Martin Goodman had magnanimously said we could pay for the rights." Thomas said another reason for pursuing Thongor was that Marvel editor-in-chief Stan Lee liked that name the most. "I soon got stalled by Lynn Carter's agent on Thongor," Thomas said, "and I got a sudden impulse to go after Conan." After reading and enjoying the paperback, Conan of Samaria, Thomas contacted Glenn Lord, who was the literary agent for the Howard estate, and stated that he couldn't offer much money, but a comic book might increase Conan's audience and so forth. Thomas didn't have much elasticity in his offer, but was so embarrassed by the $150 per issue that Goodman had authorized, he upped it to $200 without thinking. Thomas figured that would just commit him to writing the book, and he could drop his rate a bit to cover the increased offer. The extra cost meant, however, that Marvel couldn't budget for John Buscema. Buscema was Thomas's first choice to pencil the series, which opened the door for Barry Smith. Buscema in a 1994 interview recalled, "I was approached by Roy Thomas with the project to do Conan. He mailed a couple of the paperbacks to me, and I read them. I loved them. I told Roy, this is what I want, something that I can really sink my teeth into." At the time, Marvel was owned by Martin Goodman, and he felt that my rate was too high to take a gamble on with some kind of new project. It wasn't a superhero or anything that had been done before. The closest thing to what we were going to do was Tarzan. Anyway, he had no confidence in spending too much money on the book, and that's where Barry Smith came in. Barry Smith was very cheap. I know what he got paid, and I'd be embarrassed to tell you how much it was, because I'd be embarrassed for Marvel. Comics historian Les Daniel noted that Conan the Barbarian was something of a gamble for Marvel. The series contained the usual elements of action and fantasy, to be sure, but it was set in a past that had no relation to the current Marvel universe. It also featured a hero who possessed no magical powers, very little humor, and comparatively few moral principles. Marvel initially published the title every 2 months. After sales of issue 1 were strong, Marvel quickly made the title monthly, only to see the sales drop with each additional issue. Stan Lee decided to cancel the comic with issue 7, not only because of the weak sales, but also to use Smith on more popular comics. Thomas argued against the decision. Lee ultimately relented, although the book became bi-monthly again with issue 14. By issue 20, however, Conan again became a monthly publication because of rising sales. In time, the comic was seen to be one of Marvel's most popular books of the 1970s. The first issue of the series, and Conan's first appearance in comics, is entitled The Coming of Conan. The issue opens with an invitation to come with us, back to the dark centuries which sprawl between the sinking of Atlantis and the dawn of recorded time, to the days when the now-forgotten land of Aquilonia was the mightiest of nations, and a man's life was worth no more than the strength of his sword arm. Come with us to the raw, untamed world of Conan the Barbarian. The eponymous Conan of Cimmeria is then seen dominating the battlefield in an invasion of Vanaheim. Conan was recently hired as a mercenary by an Aesir raiding party and is assisting in their invasion of the neighboring land. Conan is engaged in combat with a warrior named Gondor, who wields a spear and brags about the campfire songs that are sung of his prowess, just before Conan opens his throat with his blade. From a high rocky vantage point, Conan surveys the battlefield below. He sees a bearded Aesir warrior besieged by 3 veneered jackals and decides to even the odds. Conan descends and swears to Crom that he shall save the man as he dispatches 2 of the Vanaheim warriors. The Aesir warrior Olaf and Conan take a moment to bond and express respect for the other's skills as warrior, then set out to bring the fight to the remaining Vanaheim soldiers. The Vanir leader, known as Volf the Wily, watches the battle along with his lieutenant Hothar from a gorge that the fighters have bottlenecked into. He realizes that his men will fail to safeguard the ground, so he instead decides to flee with his lieutenant Hothar. They tell the other Vanir that they go to call upon the favor of the gods, and they should hold strong against the enemy until they return with aid. They travel north across the mountains until they happen upon a cave with strange symbols above its entrance and decide to pop inside to hide. Once inside the cave, Volf and Hothar discover a large temple has been carved out, and there sits at its heart an aged shaman. The shaman introduces himself as Sharkosh, and the young sultry maiden at his side as Tara. Sharkosh tells the two that they have nothing to fear from him, as he fully expected their arrival. He offers to assist them in their current plight for a price. The price is the delivery of a strong warrior that he intends to sacrifice. Volf tells him of the dark-maned barbarian he has seen assisting the Aesir, and believes he would be perfect for the shaman's needs. The shaman then explains that he safeguards the power of the Star Stone. The Star Stone is a powerful device that can project images of the past and the future. Meanwhile, while the villains conspire with one another, Conan and Olaf have arrived at the gorge with their army and are fiercely fighting with the warriors of Vanaheim. Before the battle can be decided, though, a trio of winged demons attack both the Vanir and the Aesir. One of them swoops in and takes Olaf to the ground. The demon is able to quickly kill the Aesir leader. It then sets its sights on Conan, but finds him to be a tougher adversary. The two grapple as the creature flies high into the air with Conan. It then flies even higher up the mountain before dropping the barbarian to the ground, where he falls unconscious. Sometime later, the Cimmerian awakens to find himself inside Sharkosh's temple. Worse yet, he's in a cage. Not alone, though, as he finds the red-haired Tara at his side. She explains that he is not to be sacrificed, but instead offered in some mysterious trade. Beyond the bars of his cell, Conan sees fantastic images projected by the Starstone. The images first show a past where an Atlantean outcast named Kull becomes king before his homeland is swallowed by the ocean's waves. The projections then change to a scene from the future, a future where Conan himself is crowned king in a Hyborian empire. Conan knows that the Starstone is responsible for spawning the winged monsters that killed Olaf. Conan also believes that the stone is the source of the winged creatures as well and determines to destroy it. He uses his superior strength to escape from the cage and grab the stone, hurling it towards the back wall of the cavern. An explosion of supernatural energy consumes and kills Sharkosh, Volf, and Hothar, but Conan manages to grab Tara and dive for safety. He then carries her outside before she explains that she is actually from the same dimension as the winged monsters, and in order for her to remain in this world, another must take her place in her own reality. Sharkosh intended to lay a spell of transference on Conan so that he would unwillingly take Tara's place. With the Starstone now destroyed, Tara fades away and returns to her home dimension. So that's Marvel's Conan, issue number 1. I had some trouble finding specific print run data, but I saw an estimate in excess of 400,000. That seems a little high to me, as I know Marvel's flagship titles weren't even publishing that many 5 years after this. Although in the late 60s, the Fantastic Four were seeing print runs over 300,000 per issue, so who knows? The CGC census currently shows 78 copies of Conan 1, graded at 9.8, the current market value of which is around $4,500. The grade showing the largest volume of books seems to be 8.5, with 470 known copies. These have a value of a bit more manageable, $375, if you want one for your collection. As far as key issues go in Marvel's Conan run, issue 1 wasn't alone. Issues 14 and 15 are considered keys as well, and feature Elric of Meldabone, and his first appearance in American comics. Elric was the literary invention of Michael Moorcock, and was a sword and sorcery character similar to Conan. He would later appear in a comic series of his own, but predominantly those tales would be told in DC. Issue 23 gave us the first appearance of Red Sonja. Red Sonja of Rogatino was also a creation of Robert Howard. Howard had depicted that character, though, as a 16th century swashbuckler. Howard's Red Sonja was a gun-slinging warrior woman of Polish-Ukrainian descent with a grudge against the Ottoman Sultan, Suleiman the Magnificent. She has the eponymous red hair and a fiery temper to match it. Her narrative in Howard's stories were set against a historical backdrop, specifically the Siege of Vienna by the Ottoman Turks. Roy Thomas took some creative liberties adapting the character to fit into the Hyborian age by swapping out her pistols for a sword and a chainmail bikini. In the 2000s, Dark Horse Comics obtained a license to use Conan, and they printed a total of 240 issues of Conan stories over the next 15 years. Marvel Comics, though, recently reacquired the publishing rights in 2018 and started a new run of Conan in January of 2019. Until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.
How, Dao we won again! This is good. But what is best in life?
The open steppe, fleet horse, falcons at your wrist, the wind in your hair.
Wrong! Conan, what is best in life?
To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
That is good. That is good.